Well, hello friends, and welcome to WSIB Truth Matters with Joe Machado, where I separate the truth from bullshit, facts from fiction in plain English. Man, this excites me. So y'all heard of, probably watched the video of my visit down to the picket line and my conversation with Thomas Chang. So now it's time for me to talk to you a little bit more about certain things that most of you probably don't realize this, but by the time I'm done with this video, you're going to realize who your enemy is. Mark my words. And without any further delay, let's get at it. So the video, when I uploaded that video, within 24 hours, it had over 800 views. By far the fastest growing video in views on my channel. And it's continuing to grow. And as you know, for those of you who are subscribers or viewers, I have about 200 videos, most of them talking about legislation, different aspects of legislation, how to deal with the WSIB, certain issues regarding the law, interpretation of tribunal decisions, things of that nature. And of course, all of my videos, when I talk about legislation, I talk about the three major legislative changes in the last 50 years, which I'm affluent in. So it just basically took off, and I understand why, because this is a hot topic. People want to know what's going on, and more importantly, why it's happening. And for my viewers, who most of whom are injured workers and ill workers, and they're either dependent or a survivor of a deceased worker. So we get pretty much a whole broad spectrum of individuals. And of course, I know that there are some paralegals and lawyers who also watch it, which is fine, because they can learn something. And of course, I know that the WSIB fat cats are always watching, right? The fat cats. I've done a number of episodes that are titled Fat Cats. If you haven't watched them, you got to go back and watch them. It's really, it's interesting. And of course, the chief fat cat is Jeffrey Lang, the president of the WSIB. And I did a video on him about a year ago, and it's now become #1 in terms of the number of views on my channel. So I think most people understand what's going on, but there are certain nuances of what's happening that if you haven't dealt with these people day in and day out for as long as I have, over 30 years, and have created the relationships that I have and have maintained over the years, both on the inside of the WSIB, as they well know. Of course, they don't know who it is. And of course, within the industry all over the province, with lawyers and paralegals that I've dealt with, who some of whom are now part of our preferred legal provider program or network. But if you haven't dealt with these people day in and day out, you wouldn't know a lot of these things, right? And so your anger could be misdirected. And because generally we see the person in front of us, the messenger, and you know, there's a saying, don't kill the messenger. And in some ways, this is what's going on with the WSIB. I know that the frontline workers, case managers, return to work specialists, individuals in the file access department, other support staff. In most cases, they're the messenger. They're just there to try and do their job the best they can. And I think we've reached the consensus, and it was acknowledged by Thomas Chang on the interview on Friday, and of course in several news media reports, that their main issues were too many cases per case manager, so large caseloads, not enough training, and not being paid what they believe they should be paid. I can tell you that I know that they have way too many cases per case manager, because when I was operating my paralegal firm, I knew when the cutoff was in terms of when to assign a client to another paralegal. And when you do this as often as I have, you know what is an appropriate caseload. And when it goes beyond that, you're not going to do a good job. You're going to mess things up. You're going to miss critical information that could make a difference for that person. And it's no different when it comes to the WSIB. And if you're not well trained in the law and very familiar with the sections of the Act and any relevant policies, then you're going to make mistakes. And injured workers, they don't know what the law is, so they're not going to be able to call you on it. And sometimes those mistakes can go unnoticed or unchecked, and the same person can go on making the same mistakes over and over unless they're taught to do something different or equipped in a better way, like being provided with more training. Now, I don't excuse the behavior of some case managers. They're outright rude, intimidating, threatening, and disrespectful to injured workers. I know that firsthand from my members because I always know what's going on. And I did express this to Thomas Chang when we spoke on Friday. We spoke more about it at length when we were not on camera. Nonetheless, we do all understand and recognize there are bad apples. That is the case in any business, in any institution, in any government office. You're going to have that, right? Personalities are personalities. People sometimes are just fucking assholes, and they don't really need a reason to be that way. They just are. I'm just saying, right? But it's not fair to paint them with the same brush. So, as you can tell by the thumbnail, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Of course, as you know, this is a saying. I didn't coin this myself or invent it, but it is a saying that most people are familiar with. And it really applies here. And I want to be able to demonstrate how closely it applies. Because, you see, dealing with a case manager or return to work specialist or nurse consultant or whomever, they're only going to be able to give you what you want, providing that it is within the law and that it is authorized by someone else, the fat cats. So let's delve into that a little bit, because I've never done a video of this nature, but this is the time to do it. I had planned to do it much later, but this is the time, because this will drive home something that I've known for many, many years. Okay, so legislation is made by legislators, and they're not made by case managers. They don't make legislation, they don't write legislation. And whether or not they agree with the legislation or understand the legislation, they have zero power over the legislation, period. Enough said. They have nothing. They can't do anything about it. A budget. The WSIB's operating budget is approved by the board of directors. This guy here, he's the chair. He's the chair of the board. Okay, you've heard me talk about him before. Grant Walsh, and I talked about him before for a reason in one of my Fat Cat episodes. The board sets budgets, and those budgets affect how employees are remunerated, right? And all sorts of other things that we see going on wrong with the system. We all know that the WSIB has given money back to employers, which I think is outrageous, and I know all of you watching this channel can agree with me. It should never happen. The system was not set up for that. And yet, they're given billions of dollars back. Where should these billions of dollars go? Well, they should be going to pay claims, right? They should be paying LOE, pensions for pre-1990 claims, supplements for pre-1990 claims, FEL awards for claims between January 1, 1990, December 31, 1997, or December 31st, 97. LOE benefits or partial LOE benefits from January 1, 98 to present, right? Contributions to the loss of retirement income for claims after January 1st, 1990, okay? Non-economic loss benefits paid subsequent to January 1st, 1990. Healthcare benefits for a whole host of treatments that are required and by doctors and recommended by doctors, right? All of the funding that goes into the serious injury program, the independent living allowance, attendant care allowances, and so many other benefits just in that program alone, right? All of that money should be going into that, not to employers. But somehow it found its way there. And frontline workers had nothing to do with that. Zero, right? Not one fucking iota. Whether they agreed with it or not, totally irrelevant. They had zero to do with it. Who did have a lot to do with it? Well, you know, the fat cats, right? This other guy I'm putting up here, Jeff Lang and Gavin Pokin, right next to Grant Walsh here. So not the union either, right? The union has no control over any of that. None of it. Now, let's get to the nitty-gritty. Denial of claims, denials of treatment, denial of entitlement for psychotraumatic disability or chronic pain disability or an increase to an L award or an increase to a pension or a loss of earnings benefits or FEL benefits, all of these things, right? Okay, let's talk about that. You see, here's where we get right down to the nitty-gritty. I was the only CEO in Ontario for decades, well, at least more than two, till they decided to come after me. More on that is coming in a later video, because these guys better be worried. But I'm not done with all my homework yet. It's coming. I've got a lot. I've had 10 years to prepare for these guys. 10 years. It's coming. But, you see, when a claim is being paid, a case manager can only allow a certain amount, because it always comes down to dollars and cents. That's it. And a case manager can only allow up to, now when I had a direct line, which I still do, but I don't use it anymore, to the managers in their payment department, in their treasury branch. And yes, I did have on speed dial, still do. They hate that, but fuck them. No, the managers don't hate it. It's just these guys. Because they're always guessing. They don't know who to target, or who's the leak, or who's saying what to who. But not everybody's willing to sell their fucking soul for somebody else's battle or agenda. So getting back to that, the reason why I had this was twofold. One of the things that we did was we made arrangements to pick up a check when the case was settled. We would pick it up with the client's authorization to deliver it to the client as quickly as possible. And in many cases, because we had clients spread out all over the province, from Thunder Bay to Ottawa, Windsor, and Fort Erie, everywhere in between. If we didn't drive, we took the train, and if we couldn't take the train, we would take the plane. We would fly in to make sure the client got their check quickly. Why? Because a lot of times when you go out without pay for so long, your mortgage is in arrears, the bank is starting foreclosure proceedings, your car is being repossessed or has been repossessed, and you have a certain amount of time to pay to reclaim it, right? Trust me, a lot of you who are watching this or watch my videos at some point, you can relate to this. And an hour makes a big difference. So we had this arrangement. And you know how I got this arrangement? Because we did so much volume, hundreds of millions of dollars in settlements. And so VPs after a while said, you know what, Joe, here's the number. Just talk to these people because they get the checks ready. And once they're done, then it comes back for approvals. Now, here's where case managers have zero power over a lot of this. You see, a case manager can, at the time, my numbers may be a little bit off, but had the authorization to authorize a payment for up to $10,000. Okay, authorizing a claim and authorizing a payment for $10,000 are two different things. Authorizing a claim that has the potential to cost 5 or 6 or 10 years of benefits, LOE benefits, into the future. Case manager doesn't have the authorization to sign that off. It goes up the chain, right? So managers have the power to sign off on 20,000, directors up to 80,000, right? With the vice presidents, and not all of them, there's 22 of them, but there's only a couple designated for that, 125,000. The chief operating officer, the other guy up here, Gavin Pokin, right? 250,000. And then, of course, the president and over 250,000, right? So, you see, your problem isn't with the frontliners. Their control is really fuck all. The guys upstairs would like you to think that they have more when it suits them, because then you get to be the bad guy, right? You get to be the one who has to tell the injured worker or the widow or the dependent that they're not going to get paid. That there's no money for funeral arrangements, right? Or there's no money for a budget to put a washroom on the first level because somebody is in a wheelchair and can't go up to the second level where they have their bedroom and had a washroom to bathe and to wash up and all that, right? They're the ones that get to give you that news, right? Because these motherfuckers are a bunch of cowards. The fat cats, right? You know what I'm talking about, right? Of course you do. Fat cats. But the union said enough. You want to make us look like the bad guy because we're doing your bidding for you and we look like shit. And you don't even give us enough training to make us look like shit. You don't even give us... Come on, listen, if they're getting $100,000 a year, they're getting $100,000 a year. I don't have a problem with that. You get paid what you're worth, what your knowledge is. But everybody gets a cost of living increase, for inflation. And injured workers get that in their benefits, and I know that it's not a lot. And yeah, of course, I'm an injured worker too. I'd like to get more, but it is what it is. But if that's what they're going after, that's what they've claimed, then yeah, I don't have an issue with that. But more training and the ability to make decisions, be able to stand by those decisions without having some fucking schmuck who's just looking at dollars and cents, yanking your chain, controlling what you do. Really? That's not right. That's not right at all. If you're a parent and your kid asks you for something and you say, yeah, that's okay, right? And then you go back and talk to the spouse and they say, no, we're not going to do that. After you said okay, then you look like an asshole. But this is much more serious than that, right? This is about making decisions that affect people's lives. And what you need to understand is that I'm not in love with the union and I call them out for the shit that they do, right? But I'm not an idiot either. I know this business better than they do. And I got an opportunity to speak with Thomas, and we've had cases before. He knows that I know what I'm talking about. And I speak the truth. I'm not going to candy coat anything to make some of my subscribers feel really, really funny and happy and fuzzy and all that, and others hate me. It is what it is. I don't candy coat it. And I had feedback from calls and emails and whatever, and some on the channel, but not too many, giving me their own this and that. And it's like, fuck off. This channel is about me presenting the truth as I see it, and I do my homework before I put it out there. And what I'm telling you is, your enemy isn't the union or the frontline workers. Trust me, they've heard it loud and clear. Any of the bad apples, they will be dealt with. I can promise you that. That's going to happen. But by and large, they're not your enemy, right? It's the guys upstairs who are the enemies, the fat cats. And you can come after me again, motherfuckers, because I'm ready for you. If you want to, just let's do the dance. But it is what it is. That's the bottom line. They are my enemy. They are your enemy, okay? They are the enemy of their employees. And they give back to employers when they shouldn't. So the enemy of my enemy, or the enemy of my enemy, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Because this fight's going to be over. They're going to be back to work. And I think there's going to be a big change. Because they're not going to back down. They're not going to back down to these guys. They've been taking their shit for a long time. They ain't going to back down. And all the power to you. All right, my friends. As always. And until the next time, because there is going to be a next time, and it's going to be interesting. Take care.
We know that connecting with the right lawyer or paralegal to handle your case can be overwhelming. Do they have the expertise to handle your case? Do they have a good track record? Are they affordable? We've got you covered. Legal Pro Connect takes the guesswork out of finding the right legal provider. We've already done the vetting for you and connect you with the right lawyer or paralegal. With the expertise to handle your specific issue and at preferred rates, get connected today. Visit www.wsibsettlements.com.